All right, folks, welcome back into the High School Huddle, your one-stop shop for everything and all things Section 5 sports. I'm AJ Feldman. He's Carl Jones. And Carl, kind of last couple weeks, couple months, all the way since August, we've had to caveat our high school sports coverage with, well, we can't really go full out. There's this team called the Bills, playing good, probably going to a Super Bowl. Well, that ended on Sunday, Carl.
Yeah, and it ended in a wild fashion, didn't it? I mean, we all expected, at home, snowy conditions. These are the elements that the Bills love to play in, right? Well, the Bengals liked them a little bit more and sent them home on their home turf, ending that I don't think anyone could have even expected. But hey, I ain't complaining. That's more attention and coverage that we can put on the kids, and we got to give them what they want now. We've been talking a big game, and it's time for that now.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff brewing. Carl's got a couple stories in the holster that he's gearing up for, including one that you're about to go record basically as we're getting done with this podcast out in Canisteo today.
Yeah, the Canisteo High School girls wrestling. How about that? Shout out to Canisteo for putting that together. There are a bunch of ladies around Section 5 who are going to compete this upcoming weekend, actually Friday, the 27th, for those at home, in the state championship. So shout out for the ladies in that regard. Canisteo has 2 that they're going to send off to the state championships. Going to be able to talk to them. The head coaches put it together, Mr. Mullen. And just want to know everything about it. How much of a challenge it was, how excited they are, for maybe to get on that podium a little bit, but just the year itself, how proud are they to, begin this off the ground and have it go forward? Because when I heard of it, I'm like, yeah, I've heard of girls wrestling, like wrestling against the boys, but to have their own sport, that's pretty darn cool in itself. So just want to talk to the ladies and just see how this past year has gone for them and, the guys who put it together as well.
Yeah, this is the first year where there is a New York State girls wrestling state championships. It's technically an invitational. We've got 24 girls from Section 5 going out to that in the Syracuse area, like you mentioned, on Friday. And I know Canisteo kind of has been one of, if not the leaders on the forefront of getting girls wrestling going here in Section 5. So I think that'll be really fun. Nice to see more representation, more opportunities for girls and high school athletes, of course. And then also going on this weekend on the boys wrestling side, the dual meet state championships. You've got Hilton and Fairport both going from Section 5 in Division 1. Hilton winning the championships for Section 5, and then in Division 2. No surprise if you're familiar with the Section 5 scene. It's Canisteo-Greenwood in Division 2. They've got quite a little dynasty over there in Division 2. So good luck to all the wrestlers going. We're getting into state championship season already, Carl. It's like, Bills are out the window and it's on to states.
Hey, I'm not complaining about that. Bring me to all the high stakes. I don't need none of the preseason or anything like that. Let's get into the swing of things where everything means a little bit more. And I know if I can't wait, I'm sure the student athletes themselves are very anxious to get a few medals, maybe a couple rings, whatever, the award is at the end of the season.
Yes, and speaking of getting into the swing of things, let's do that right now with the show. A busy week of high school basketball. Our round ball roundup last Friday. We had a lot of really close games. I think we got 12 on the air, and 5 of them were either late fourth quarter finishes in the last minute, back and forth, in doubt. So we had a really great slate of games for you. And Carl, on the round ball roundup slate on Friday, a big statement win, leading the way for your team of the week.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the Franklin Bulldogs boys basketball. Went out there, had a pretty good idea that this was going to be a good one between them and Aquinas. Aquinas hadn't lost to a Section 5 foe since December of 2021. That's how long it's been. They went on a sectional title run last season and lost to, I believe, a Section 16 in the Far West Regionals. This past season, I believe they had 2 losses before that matchup, but they were both to, I believe, out of section teams. So Franklin, they had a couple losses coming into that game, I believe 5. But if you've watched anything about the Bulldogs over the past 2 years, this is a Shamir Freeman show, and boy, did he put on a show last week. I mean, it was like razzle dazzle, backyard and one. Give it to you however you want it, between the legs, step backs, between your legs. It was just phenomenal. Love watching him play. He gets the crowd into it. I think the other team was in awe a little bit. I know I was. I'm putting the camera down every play, looking at the dude next to me, like, you see that? So he's just a phenomenal ball player. I encourage everyone to go watch Franklin just to see him ball. But it's not just him. They have two twins who are juniors. One's a big fella, Terrence Thompson. Don't go down to the paint with him and don't have a game plan on what you want to do with him, because he was sending shots left and right. Good finisher on the other end as well. And then his twin, Clarence, is a sharpshooter. He actually led the team in scoring, I believe, last Friday. 6 threes, if I'm not mistaken. Sharpshooter. And I believe the Aquinas coach, it got so bad that the Aquinas coach was like, why are you leaving him open? And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, nah, leave him open, make my highlights good. But it was a fun game, especially at Franklin Gym, when it's the smaller gyms, the fans are right on top of you, energetic. It's just a statement win over Aquinas team that has looked good over the past 2 years. Even though they're a little younger this year, they still ran through their schedule to this point. Franklin, ain't nothing to mess with. I know maybe the record doesn't show that they're a dominant foe, but when those three are cooking, good luck.
Yeah, you mentioned their record currently sitting at 8-5 on the season. Since that point, they picked up a win over Penfield. They've got victories over Schrader, McQuaid. They put up 110 points on Wilson. They do have a couple tough losses. Well, not tough, but against some tough teams. They lost to East. They lost to Aquinas earlier this season. Monroe, of course. And then their only other than Aquinas earlier this season, their only other AA loss was to UPrep, 3 points a couple weeks ago. So we've talked a lot about AA and boys basketball. Aquinas, Victor, teams of that nature. Now with this victory, certainly Franklin has to be in that conversation, because I've talked to some people on that team before, and just talking to you. It sounds like with the way that press works, they can just about, they're never going to be out of any game.
No, I mean, Aquinas, well coached ball club, and even they were a little flustered in that second half, because I believe it was a 1-point game at the break, and that press is ruthless. And then once you get that press combined with the fact that the guys can shoot, and Shamir Freeman doing what he loves to do, when they're cooking on one of those nights, especially in basketball, where it's any given night, make or miss games, this is one of those teams where, they're the underdogs, but don't get it twisted. If that 3 ball's falling, if that press is clicking, good luck.
Yeah, as we've seen many times in the college game in March, that is a pretty darn good formula to rack off some wins in a row. My team of the week, more a season-long honor, because I don't think we've talked about them maybe ever before on the show. The Canisteo-Greenwood girls basketball team. We've talked about their football team before in the fall, but I don't know if we have ever talked about the girls basketball team. Last year, their season, as my thing loads, a solid year, 15-6. However, this time around, they are turning it into full gear. They are currently 16-0 on the season. They are 1 game away from completing a perfect regular season. That is actually tonight. So they're going to have a lot of time to gear up for this playoff run, that's for sure. But they are 16-0 on the season, 8th in the state. And Carl, we talk a lot about you can only beat the teams on your schedule. They've done that to the tune of 15 double-digit plus wins. Only 1 game this year where it has been a single-digit game. That was to Dansville earlier this season, a Class B opponent, a good one at that, at 10-14. They beat them 43-42 on January 3rd. Some of their heavy hitters this season, Lillian Mullen getting it done with over 19 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals. So she's doing it all for them. She is Lillian Mullen is a junior, so she's still got some years left on her. And then Brooke Bird getting it done, a 6'1" center, averaging 13 points, 8 rebounds. I know that's got to be tough to deal with, especially in Class C, any class. But you put a great post player down in Class C, that's going to be tough for them to deal with. As I mentioned, they've been rolling through their competition. That only Dansville game, it was Mullen hitting a late 3-pointer to come away with the victory there. And, we've talked a little bit about some Class C teams so far this year. There's a lot of good ones this year. Geneseo, Gananda, Lions, East Rochester. But now we got to give some love to Canisteo-Greenwood. Could probably in about
6
hours, they're going to be undefeated, completed the regular season there.
Man, I don't care who's in front of you. Undefeated is undefeated. And taking a quick peruse at their roster, at these smaller school levels, well, any level, but especially at these smaller school levels, when you notice like these girls and guys who've been on the varsity for 3+ years, that's how you know you got a special group going on over there. Lillian Mullen's been on varsity 5 years, and so that means she was on varsity as a 7th grader. Peyton Peters has been on varsity 4 years. Brooke Bird 4, Elaine Roach 3. Like, these are girls who have been a ton of reps at the varsity level, so they're battle tested. They've been through the ringer a little bit. That shows that Canisteo, they got something good going on over there. They got this little time frame right now to capitalize, and I'm not going to spoil it for them. I'm not going to be the jinx guy because I did it last year. But if they do that shows that this is a really special group.
No, and you mentioned their roster, just looking at it, 5'8", 5'9", 5'9", 5'10", and 6'1" Brooke Bird. So, there's some boys basketball teams that that sounds, in the realm of what they're putting out there on any given night. So shout out to Canisteo-Greenwood for their season so far. They play Addison tonight to close off their regular season, and they do come into this season, or this matchup at 12-2. Addison does. So I was worried I was going to jinx them a little bit. However, they did play earlier this season, and Canisteo-Greenwood won 48-29. So it seems like Canisteo-Greenwood is on their way to a perfect regular season. Knock on wood. Hopefully you guys could hear that. We're not trying to jinx them, but congrats to Canisteo-Greenwood. And they're going to have like 2 or 3 weeks to prepare for their postseason. So I don't know if the schedule just hasn't been updated, but it seems like they're going to have a lot of time to play against each other, which is probably a better test than most teams that they could play in an actual game. So that's probably going to work out in their favor. All right, Carl, you're under the radar team, a team that deserves just a tiny little bit of pub.
Man, let's give the Geneva Panthers some love, all right? And the reason they caught my eye, we gave a lot of love to Avon, and rightfully so, for the 3-point record, that Section 5 record, almost state record. I mean, I understand sportsmanship, but we'll get on that a little bit later. But you beat Avon at Avon, been to Avon. That's not an easy place to play, 52-47. And then I'm like, all right, Geneva, you're 7-5. Why are we 7-5? You took down Avon, really good foe. How we get there? But then you look at who they've lost to, and you like, either the AD really don't like you guys, or he really does like you guys, and he wants to test you, right? They lost to Jamestown, a Class AA team out of the Buffalo area, I believe. McDonough, a Class A team. They lost to Wayne, an A2 team. And then they do have a loss to Palmac and both Newark, who are both in B1 with them. Having said that, their record looks a lot different if they're not playing the heavy hitters out of Buffalo. So this Geneva team clearly is a lot better than what the record indicates. We'll see exactly where they are in B1, because B1 is no slouch with Palmac, Newark, Batavia, Waterloo, even BK, Bishop Kearney. Having said that, though, they clearly aren't too far behind when you take down Avon. Anthony Torres is the big dog for them. I believe he led the team with 20 against Avon. And then also the big fella in the middle, Brian Whitley at 6'5" in Class B1. That's a nice size down low. I was going through his box scores a little bit. He has a 28-20 game in his repertoire this past season. I think he had another like 20 and 18 game. So the big fella is a problem in the paint. All right. So the Panthers got like a little 1-2 punch that is gonna cause some problems for these teams down the stretch here. I saw 7-5. I'm like, what we thinking, AJ? But I'm thinking that this team, is a little bit better than the record indicates. And as I'm saying that, I look at their record, and on Saturday they play Elmira Free, who's a Class AA team. So once again, me and this AD need to have a talk. All right. Having said that, this team is pretty darn good, and they are my under the radar team for this week.
Yeah, and last year, a 10-12 record. So it's not like this was even a 15 and a section champ that they sacked their schedule for. And you mentioned Jamestown AA. That was a team that made it to I know at least the state Final Four. I can't remember exactly where they went last year because they knocked off Aquinas, and they're still pretty darn good this year. 9-2 record as per Max Prep. So that's a really and they only lost by 5 to Jamestown. So that tells you a lot about this Geneva boys basketball team. Definitely a team we're going to have to keep our eyes on going forward. My girls under the radar team, kind of just based on, we've got a lot of great teams here in AA this year. Obviously, we've got Fairport. Obviously, we've got the undefeated Schrader Warriors. And, we've got Bishop Kearney, the defending state champs. But there's this little team in Hilton who has been, creeping around. They play close games. I finally got a chance to see them against Premier Elite competition. They played Penfield on Friday. And caveat here, they did not win this game. They lost 60-55, but still, they impressed me almost as much as they could in a win. Mallory Highs, averaging 17 points per game. In that game, she had 23 points, 13 in the fourth quarter. They were down 47-38, and in a 90-second sequence, she hit a three-pointer. She hit a jumper on the baseline. She got fouled. And then after she unfortunately missed that free throw, her team got the rebound, popped it back out to her. She hit another three and made it a 1-point game just like that. It was, they were down by 9. They needed someone to carry them close to the finish line, and she did just that. I don't see a lot of performances like that here in high school sports. She was like, all right, you know what? I got us here. If we're gonna go down with me, I'm gonna be, and her, it wasn't, anything crazy. Like she was like jumping up in triple coverage, being selfish, anything like that. This was, I'm gonna try and take over this game, and she started to do that. And then the funniest thing is that I got back to the station, and we have been following Hilton and Mallory Highs for a while. We had been pronouncing her name incorrectly for a while. That's on my bad, but I saw that it was a write-up from Pickin' Splinters, and it was like in the same sentence. It was the end of the sentence. They said sophomore guard, and I'm like, oh, they forgot the name or whatever. Like Mallory Highs isn't a sophomore. Like I've been talking about her for years. She's a sophomore. I was stunned to hear that. She's gonna probably be putting up 2,000 points by the time she's done. And I was just stunned to hear that, Carl.
Yeah, I remember her last year against Schrader. They were playing Schrader, I believe that was at Victor in a sectional game. And Mariah Watkins, obviously, she's a phenomenal ball player. But then Mallory, I'm not going to say was going to tick for going back and forth, but was holding her own as a freshman out there. Once again, didn't know she was a freshman at the time. Holding her own on that end, and that's when I knew, she definitely had something to her game. But I'm not shocked whatsoever. The fact that she has this team where they are right now. Well, her and other girls as well, Ella Clark as well, is a good ball player. Leah Thompson. 5'11" in the paint for them. This Hilton team ain't nothing to mess with. I know they're out a little further right up there by the lake, so it's hard to get them at times. But I love seeing Hilton play. Especially, you know how I feel about the football team and how they play a little bit. But the girls team, they got some sauce to them, especially with Mallory. And I would not mind seeing them, watching them a few more times before the season ends.
Yeah, they are 9-5 on the season, ranked 25th in the state in Class AA. As you mentioned, Ella Clark as well, a really talented player, and she's only a junior as well. She's averaging 14 plus points per game, and their losses are all really quality. They lost by 8 to Schrader, which I believe is the closest any team's got to them this year. They lost by 9 to Fairport. They lost to 7 to Penfield earlier this year, and then they lost by 7 to a quality St. Mary's team earlier in the season. So all their losses are close. All their losses are against tough games. They end the year with Fairport and Schrader, their final 2 games of the regular season. So that's going to be a really nice test for them going into the postseason. And this could be a team, I'm sure it's definitely going to be a team that nobody's going to be super happy with is in their bracket at like a 4 or a 5 spot, which is really impressive for girls basketball in Class AA this year. That is like our 4th or 5th best team this season. So those 2 games will be good to watch down this stretch of the season. And we got a couple of good games coming up on the slate in the near future. Carl, your game of the week.
I don't need to jazz it up. Victor boys are hosting Aquinas. Like I just said earlier, Aquinas coming off their first Section 5 loss since December of 2021. How are they going to rebound? Victor, undefeated still chugging along, thrashing whoever's in front of them. They have probably their toughest test yet against an Aquinas team that's going to be hungry. Want to get a little bit of redemption on what happened last week against Franklin. I can't wait. I'm sure we'll have it on the slate for tomorrow for you on Round Ball Roundup. This game is going to be it. Victor, I saw them again last week against Canisteo in the Scott Zahn Classic. And Victor, once again, everyone touches the ball. It doesn't matter who shoots it. It's just They're one of those teams. So they're fun to watch in that regard. And then Aquinas is young, but they got some sauce to them. They got a little 8th grader or 9th grader, I believe. Stands about 5'6", but he stands in that corner and he shoots the hell out the ball. So I love everything about Aquinas as well. It's gonna be a fun matchup. I can't wait to see how that one turns out.
Yeah, Victor, they did just pass their biggest test of the season recently, taking down Mendon. It should be a good game tomorrow, and obviously we'll have that for you on Roundball Roundup. My game of the week is kind of a twofer. We don't get a lot of home and homes in high school sports and high school hockey. We got a home and home coming up. I assume it might have to do something with a snow out or something like that. But you've got Pittsford and Spartan Hockey playing on both Saturday the 28th and Tuesday the 31st. So that's a fun element to it. I'm sure these teams are going to be sick of each other by the time they're done with that. Both these teams having some really nice seasons. Pittsford 10-3-1 on the year. They've won 4 of their last 5. They only have one loss to a Section 5 opponent this year. That is to Victor. They lost them 4-1. So Pittsford's doing some good things. And then Spartan Hockey, a team that if you're mentioning, you're hearing about them for the first time, you might be a little surprised because they've haven't quite been a powerhouse lately. Last year, they were 5-12-1. This year, 8-5-1 on the season. They're 3-1-1 in their last 5 games. They've got 2 dynamic goal scorers, playmakers, Mikey Valent with 29 goals and 11 assists so far on the season. Aiden Zanoni with 14 goals and 11 assists. I got the chance to see him once earlier this season, and I wasn't expecting to be impressed by them because I saw them against Fairport. They lost to them 6-1 earlier in the season. When I saw them a couple weeks ago, they played them to a 3-3 tie. So clearly that's some growth, that's some improvement there. And Spartan Hockey is a fun little story. I don't think we've mentioned too much on this show, but a real couple good tests for them against a quality Pittsford team where maybe they can finally get some big time, big name wins coming up next week.
I saw Pittsford play Fairport earlier this season, and they're a tough defensive team led by their goalie, Aiden Brown. So that'll be a nice matchup right there. Tough goaltender, and then Mikey Valent, who could be in Section 5 best every other week. I mean, let's be honest. I always see his name on the stat books. So yeah, that'll be fun for sure. Got the star, forward out there, and then the goalie in Pittsburgh who doesn't like seeing goals in the back of his net. So that's especially they're gonna play each other twice. So I want to see if Mikey can get past Aiden once or twice.
Yeah, Mikey Valent with his 29 goals, 8 more than anyone else in all of Section 5. So that's an impressive number for a leading goal scorer. He also leads Section 5 in points. So Mikey Valent, hats off to you so far for your season. Let's see if he can get it done this upcoming week against Pittsford. Well, that'll do it for us today on the High School Huddle. As we mentioned, we got a lot of good games coming up on Friday. Actually, thanks to golf. They're playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We don't have a 5 o'clock show on Friday. We don't have a 6 o'clock show on Friday. So we got a lot more time for me and you both to be out amongst the people getting these games. So it should be a good one, Carl.
I can't wait. And I know people at home really don't care, but we don't got a 6 on Saturday or 6 on Sunday either. So I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven about how, we get to spend more time, doing our jobs and not, well, I guess this is our job too, but you get the point. We get to be with the people. All right.
We get to be doing the fun part of the job.
You feel me? So I can't wait for that, man. Can't wait at all.
Exactly. I can't wait as well. So we'll have that for you on Roundball Roundup, News 8, RochesterFirst.com. Once again, thank you for listening. For Carl Jones, I'm AJ Feldman. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.